remember a time where I wasn't depressed and I was in English class. The teacher gave us an assignment where we got to choose what book we wanted to read for like the English class, and I picked like Humpty Dumpty or like Dr. Seuss or something. I don't know, I wasn't the best at English. After everybody picked their book, my friend asked the teacher if he could read Metro 2033, and he actually had the book with him, and immediately it piqued my interest. Like the cover of the book, like it looked interesting and basically it just caught my attention. So I bought the book. So I started to read like 10 pages, then I fucking realized I'm brain damaged and I actually can't fucking read, so I just forgot about it. So instead of reading the book, I took the best thing that came close to it, and that being the Metro 23 game. Last time I think I played this game was like back in 2012 or 14, I think. And I barely remember anything from the game. Like the only thing I remember is that I had a blast with the game. Like I was really scared of it, but I never actually finished it. So I decided to replay the game now and see how the game holds up and how the game is in general, since I don't really remember anything about it. The last Metro game I played was actually Metro Exodus, the last installment into the franchise, and I loved it so much. So I had pretty high expectations for the first game in the entry. So one quick note is that I played the game in the original like release date or like base version of the game. It's not the Redux version because I don't have it and I already have the original, so I'm like, oh fuck it, and I didn't find too many bugs except for like maybe one or two, and it wasn't a huge issue. And the Redux just gives you a better graphical experience and fixes like some small bugs, but I didn't have any issues with it. Now fuck all of this and let's get right into the video. So as soon as you start the game, you get a cutscene of our main character Artyom, where he explains his life and how the world situation looks like. He explains,
I was born in Moscow, but I remember nothing of that time. I was just an infant when the old world was destroyed in the flames of nuclear fire. I, along with 40,000 others, were saved by retreating to the metro stations, deep under the city. Now, 20 years had passed, and going up into the embrace of an endless winter was left to a few brave souls. The metro was our home, and our fortress against the nightmarish mutants who roamed the tunnels. Still, we never gave up hope that we would return to the surface. But one day, a new threat appeared, and we found ourselves in a war to determine the very existence of our species.
and just basically like gives us information on what has happened, why things are the way they are in the world, and how the whole apocalypse shaped to be like this. And of course, after the cutscene you get to the main menu, and I just love it so much because it just screams personality for me, as I've not seen many other games do this style of like main menu. Even when you hover over like the exit button, the soldiers that are standing next to the door are like teasing you with like, oh, you're weak.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, like, oh, you don't want to fight in the metro, you're giving up on us and shit like that. And it actually, like, it's in some cases where I wanted to quit my gaming session, I was like, fuck, I don't want to leave them alone, bro. So the main character in this game is a little bit weird from your normal like shooter RPGs or whatever. If you played the game, you might think that the main protagonist is silent, but Artyom actually has a voice actor for him, but it's in a weird way where he only talks in his journal, or like when he recalls what happened in the previous level. Like you only get the voice actor voicing him when there's a loading screen. And I honestly didn't mind it too much, but it felt like in some cutscenes where characters are like, oh, are you okay, Artyom? And like he just He just stands there without actually saying anything. It was just so funny for me. So I feel like in some crucial parts maybe he could have like said yeah, I'm okay or something like that, but for the most part it works. The game has an amazing start where we're trying to get outside of the metro with another human. I like this as it gives us a lot of questions, such as like, why are we trying to get outside? Why were we in the tunnels in the first place? Who is the person we're with? What role does our character have in this scenario? We get outside with this person and joined by several other people when we are ambushed by creatures called the Dark Ones. Artyom gets knocked out and we cut to 8 days earlier. We see that Artyom likes to collect photos of different monuments from different parts around the world, like England, India, and so on. I think this is a really cool and a subtle way to show that Artyom, while still being in the metro and like the dark tunnel, still has an imagination and like dreams and thinks about how the world was before. We get a small tutorial to see how the different mechanics work. And one thing I love and wish more games did this is having a map without taking you out of the game. Like in Metro you have a journal with like a compass to direct you where you're going, and like in most games you have to like pause, or there's a specific map button that like pauses the entire game so you can know where to go. Oh, and when you have this little clipboard thingy, you also get a cool ass lighter with it. So we learned that Artyom has a stepdad here in the metro station, and they're awaiting his stepdad's friend, Hunter. He was outside and has arrived with supplies and catches up with Artyom and his stepdad, but they get quickly interrupted by lurkers, a different breed of the Dark Ones. After the encounter, we get an important piece of dialogue where Artyom's stepdad explains to us that humans are no longer the biggest predators, as the Dark Ones are the next step in evolution and the humans no longer stand a chance against them. But Hunter has a different mindset about that. Hunter realizes that the attacks cannot keep going on like this, and they have to stop on all the different stations across the metro. And the only way to do it is try to get help and attack the Dark Ones head on. Hunter decides to travel to another station to get help and tells Artyom to go look for a man named Miller if he is not to return in the morning, and
Hunter did not return.
there is a caravan heading to a station near Artyom's destination, so he decides to gear up and act as a guard for the caravan that's heading to Riga station. When Artyom enters the cart and they're slowly heading towards the station, we see some strange light and see that all the passengers are passing out, and we get a strange vision of aliens and different creatures. In this vision we see Hunter trying to save us and tells us that in order to survive we need to eliminate every threat, no matter the cost. After barely surviving that, we learn that Artyom is apparently immune to the effects of the creatures, and after this point we start hearing and seeing some weird shit in the tunnels. So we eventually end up at the station, and I just have to say I love the atmosphere of all the different metro stations. But I have some mixed opinions on the audio in this game, like the characters are talking at the same time at the same volume, so you can hear like 20 different conversations between people. It's so hard to focus on a single NPC, because even if a group of people are talking like 20 meters away from you, it still sounds like they're just like 1 centimeter away from you. But this also works in the game's favor with how cramped the stations are, where there's like 100 people crammed into small rooms where there's like 4 to 5 people just in a single space of like 2 meters. And I just love exploring all the stations and just seeing how people live, just being simply happy for having a radio in the room so they can listen to some tunes, and then being happy that they have a guitar and someone that can actually play it, like just enjoy the music, and people just like reading different books and just they're happy to be like with each other because they know how tough the times are, you know. After exploring a little bit of the station, we notice that the station is on lockdown because of all the creature attacks that have been happening around, and there's no way out of the station. But luckily for Artyom, he meets Bourbon that is heading towards the same locations as we are and offers to help us. He says that if we help him get to the station, he will give us his gold AK as a reward. Without really having an option, we agree, and apparently Bourbon knows a secret passage out to get out of the station, and we follow him towards the station.
Artyom, put your dick away, Artyom. I'm not having sex with you right now, Artyom.
Get to another station where people apparently know who Bourbon is and that he actually owes a debt to them. This is where the game confused me a bit, since he apparently owes all the people in the station. We are unable to leave, But then after a short while, they just let us out to the outside world without paying their debts. Like, first I thought it was to like, oh, we need to go outside to gather some things to pay back the debt. But they're just like, ah, no, we're just messing with you. I'm like, wait, what? Like, we were like being threatened because Bourbon apparently has a huge debt with everyone on the station. And he cannot pay it, and they're like, yeah, just get out of here. I guess the game implies that like Bourbon smooth talked them out of his debt, but it wasn't really implied, and the dialogue didn't really seem that way, so I don't really know. I guess you can interpret it however you want. When we get outside, this is where the game really shines. Exploring the different buildings we experience, paranormal vision, sounds of life and shit like that, like just seeing the office buildings being abandoned, like people used to live here, you know. Now the tunnels are collapsed, the metro stations, the bus stations are fucking fucked up. There is no life, it's just emptiness, and it's just amazingly done. Tip: if you decide to play this game, explore everything. I played the game on the hardest difficulty, as I've not played this franchise in a while, and just the tension you get from playing on the hardest difficulty, and especially exploring on the hardest difficulty, is like essential, because you need to find those precious bullets, and in this game, instead of having normal currency, you have a high caliber rounds, so it's really important for you to explore to find those currencies so you can upgrade your weapons and buy more ammo, or like buy more medkits. And every time before I got into a fight, I was thinking, is it really worth it to use my SMG or should I bring out my pistol? Because I was really scared of just wasting bullets because they were so precious. I was trying to conserve my ammo as much as I could because I never knew if there was gonna be more enemies later on. If I can just dump all my ammo on this enemy, and then later on there will be like 5 different dark ones attacking me. And I have to say, this is the first game in years that has genuinely scared me with like really good jump scares. Even when we're outside, we see like a park and we get a vision of a life before where there were children playing at this playground. After exploring the outside for a bit, we get attacked by demons, are forced to head underground yet again, where we spot another bandit camp, and Bourbon, knowing the leader, has apparently a plan that involves him being captured by them and us trying to free him, I guess. We sneak past the enemy and come to rescue Bourbon, but he tries to overpower the leader that captured him and gets shot in the process. So rest in peace, Bourbon, you will forever be missed. And we almost die as well, but we are rescued by a man named Khan. The first impression I got of Khan is that he is a calm man and seems to know way more than you know, like about the whole universe, like about the tunnels and even the creatures. He tells us that he knows a way around the bandit camp, but it's through a tunnel that not even the creatures themselves want to travel by. I just want to say quickly, fuck you developers for hyping me up thinking that I would get a gold AK from Bourbon, but no, he just fucking dies and I have my normal AK. Fuck you. Going through the tunnels, we see all sort of different visions of people who are stuck in some sort of limbo. They're almost like shadow-like creatures, and if we touch them, yep, we die. Khan seems to know a lot about these ghosts. And later on, we encounter a patrol who was stationed here years before. And what we learn as well is that Khan was stationed with them here, but unfortunately he was the only one who survived this encounter, and the rest of his crew died. Further down the tunnel, we encounter a sort of an anomaly where Khan says that sometimes we can just let the nature take its course, and shows us that simply standing still and not intervening with everything can turn out to be a good thing. We reach a dead station where most people have already left it, and the ones remaining are only there because they have no other choice. So, being the nice guy we are, we help them defend the station from the Dark Ones and later go alone, since Khan can no longer follow us as he is needed here for further help. So he leaves us, but he says something quite important before heading out.
Remember, everything depends on you and you alone. Until we meet again, goodbye, Artyom.
So we continue on our journey, and we need to go past a communist station, which apparently is a free station, But as soon as we get there, we get fucking arrested. But luckily we're not alone, as there's a blacksmith who knows Khan and is actively trying to help us hide from the communists. The blacksmith's plan is to hide us in a cargo, in a cart, where the communists are on their way to fight the Nazis. Yep, you heard that right. Communists and Nazis are still fighting in a post-apocalyptic game. And even Artyom thinks it's fucking weird.
Even the apocalypse didn't stop us from killing one another over ideology. I was about to go through the front line between the Nazis and the communists. I've heard they once fought another war, and that the Nazis lost.
So we eventually fall off the cart and we see that the Nazis and the communists are fighting. We sneak past the battle but get caught in the end, but luckily we're rescued by two mysterious men that apparently know this Miller guy we've been trying to find. We get onto a car that has a minigun, shooty section, and we just continue our journey. Unfortunately, our partner dies and yet again we're all alone, and we try to go to another station that is under attack and we get knocked out, and when we wake up everybody is dead except for us. On our way out of the station we see a child whose uncle died, so we decide to help him out and see some soldiers that are thankful that we saved this child, as it's apparently their leader's son. The mom of the child is there and is really thankful that we saved him and offers some money, and we as the player can either accept it or refuse. This is where the game kinda has a morality system depending on what type of choices you make throughout your game. After that encounter we get outside and we spot even more Nazis, and I just have to say, just being outside in this game is truly amazing. Like yet again here there's like a abandoned building with like an antenna. You can even get an achievement because you get a little side quest to fix an antenna for a guy from the station that you can do, which is really cool. After sneaking past the enemy we meet our guy who knows Miller, and apparently we're supposed to head to Polis, so that's our next destination. And we get a cutscene when we eventually get to Polis with our mate, and I just have to say, like, just seeing the central station Polis is just so amazing. We see so little of it, but it's just so amazing. It's so beautifully done and it looks so cool, especially with like all the mounted guns, all the different train parts, and even like the whole headquarters the soldiers have for them. We eventually meet Miller and all the people of Polis, but we get the sad news from the council of Polis that apparently they're not gonna do anything to help out Artyom's home station. But being the nice guy Miller is, he knows what we've been through and suggests we find the plans for some nukes from before the apocalypse, and without having any other options we follow them. So Miller's plan is to nuke the hive where the Dark Ones have settled in the middle of the city. Apparently the library in the city holds the map to the D6 bunker that holds the coordinates for the bombs. So we head to the library, get the map, and later we go to the Rangers base. I think it's quite cool that the Rangers, being like the Miller military group, like he and his troops, like Miller is the leader of the Rangers. And I think it's really cool that they have a small outpost set in the outer city, like outside the metros. It just looks so cool. I'm pretty sure it's like a abandoned church. But we see our dear old friend Khan in the base, but it seems like no one else is acknowledging him, and when we look back at him, he's just gone.
So, how are we faring? Well, man, is everything ready?
The firewood's done.
Then we need to get to the D6 bunker, and I just love this entire segment because it's just based on like this military bunker. It's just so cool seeing like all of these chairs, computer screens, and like how the generals and leaders probably would have like talked with their people, and just seeing it all being destructed and you just trying to navigate like the power just so you can get the elevator to working, because you need to go to the bottom floor to get the coordinates for the nukes. There's also a really cool segment where it's just pure dark and you have to either pump up your flashlight all the time or you have to use night vision, and it just makes it like a truly horrifying experience. But in order to get the new coordinates, apparently there's an infested creature there, so there's a small boss fight where you just sit in a crane and try to kill the monster. So after getting the coordinates, we finally have to group up, and that brings us to the last chapter of the game. The final chapter of the game is where the game began in the first place, when we tried to get outside and got ambushed, but now we know what the goal was intentionally. Our goal is trying to set up the guiding system on top of the tower to target the hive and eventually nuke it. Throughout the game we had different kinds of vision of different creatures and different voices, which leads to the ending of the game. We're now talking with almost like the elder of the Dark Ones, who is more involved than them, and can someone communicate with Artyom. This is where the game calls back to what Hunter said in the beginning of the game, where we have to kill them no matter what, and depending on what ending you get, you can either choose to kill the Dark One or not to kill him. Here is where your action throughout the game affects the ending. If you rampage through the game and accepted every offer you got and didn't do anything to the people in need, you got the bad ending, where Artyom shoots the Dark Ones and fires the missiles at the Hive. In the good ending, if you didn't kill anyone and were charitable towards the people and actually listened to the conversations, you can choose not to kill the Dark Ones and Artyom doesn't fire the missiles at the Hive. This is one of my big problems with the game, because I was playing on the most difficult setting on the game and I had trouble taking on enemies because for some reason they could see me through walls, so sometimes it was just really hard to sneak past them. And in tough situations where I had to like fight them, I couldn't even kill them because they were like bullet sponges, or they would just one tap me in the head, which is like fair game, you know. But at least for me, there were literal sections in the game where I could not progress further without killing at least one enemy. And I don't like how you have to listen in on every single conversation in order to get the good ending, because the audio is just dog shit, especially with conversations with multiple NPCs, so I just don't understand it. But it has been confirmed by the developers that apparently the bad ending, where Artyom nukes the Hive, is the canon ending that leads up to the events of Metro Last Light, which is the sequel to Metro 2033. That's about the whole story and the opinions I have about this game. This game is pretty short, and I have to say I had a blast with this game, and I would recommend it to people who don't have anything to play right now. When I first started making this video, I thought it would be way longer, but when I finished the game, I noticed it was only about like 4 to 5 hours, but I still recommend this game highly to anybody. Just for the fact that there's a ton of replay value where you can choose different difficulties, there's always some side quest or some achievement you can do. It's just so cool. But I had fun making this video and I hope you all liked it. I know that I'm still trying to improve. I need to improve better on how I speak during these longer forms of videos, how I edit around them, how many memes I have in them. So please let me know down in the comments what you did like and mostly what you disliked, because I want that negative feedback. I want to improve myself. But let me know in the comments as well if you want me to go over the 2 other Metro games, because the last game I played was Exodus, but I haven't even played Last Light, so I think it would be fun to make a video about that as well. But yeah, I'm already planning another video after this comes live that's gonna be in the same video format as this. But I hope you all enjoyed. Take care everybody, see ya, and here's the meme.
Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump, please. I'm asking you. Please save me. Please save me. Please get these people away from me. In dear God's name, please stop these people. They're breaking.